All right, good evening. Welcome to another episode of The Pop-Up, coming to you live from the Black Media Matter studios here in downtown Seattle at our new time of like 7:12 p.m. Thanks for everybody making the switch. We got a big show tonight. We're joined by Seattle City Council President Joy Hollingsworth. Got a great conversation lined up with her tonight. It's some questions inquiring minds want to know, including me. But before we get into all of that, we got to pay some bills. The first thing we're going to do is give a big shout out to We Rise Wines. We Rise Wines, located on 2nd Avenue, right across from the Moore Theater. Man, it's for us, by us. Jamila Conley and her staff have curated an outstanding selection of wines, from people of color, from across the Pacific Northwest, nationally and even internationally. But it doesn't stop there. The food is fantastic. Also got a great meeting space there. How many people did they say, actually? 25, right? Yeah, it's a meeting space in there, too. Holds 25 people. Support the people that support us here at Converge. WeRiseWines.com. All right, good stuff. Now, let me introduce my very esteemed guest this evening. Although she has been in the Black Media Matter studios plenty of times, this is the first time here on the Pop-Up. Hey, there she go. Let's get it going here. Joy Hollingsworth is a fourth-generation Seattleite and public servant who currently serves as Seattle City Council President, El Presidente, with a background in as an educator, small business owner, and nonprofit leader. Hollingsworth served as Seattle City Council member, representing District 3 for 2 years prior to her unanimous appointment as City Council President. Joy Hollingsworth, welcome back to the Black Media Matter studio.
Thank you, welcome back, and thank you for the 7 p.m., because you know my bedtime's early, so I'm glad to be back at this time.
Listen, you think your bedtime early. They be having to roll me out here at night. I get out of here at 11:30, 12 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, this right here, this time is for the better for sure. Before we jump into everything, of course, we got all these headlines. You've been in the headlines a lot lately. Before we get into all that kind of stuff, though, man, how you been?
I've been good. I'm blessed. You just do one day at a time. Look, in my office, I have a thing. It says 3.5, and that is 3.5 yards to be able to get. If you have 3.5 yards to get to a carry, you can get a first down. Mm-hmm. So all I'm worried about is just the 3.5 yards every day.
Yeah, look at you. I mean, this is true. You know, I'm a baseball guy, so I'm like, hey, listen, man, if I can just get base hits.
Okay, first base. Okay.
Listen, if we get on base, we get us a scoring position. But you know what I'm saying? I think that another thing I heard you say was like, yeah, win the day.
Win the day. Win the day. I do source of my strength. So Psalms, S-O-M-S. I spell Psalms a little differently than other folks, so S-O-M-S.
You know, the Cogget people looking at you funny now.
That's fine. That's cool, and the 3.5 yards, that is the one thing that sticks in my head. And win the day. Those things are constantly in my head.
Yeah, no, those are good things to move by. Everything else we've got. So the pop-up is, and this is great, it's a different format, is that the first part of the show is all headlines. And then the second part of the show, we be talking like, yeah, what you been up, what's happening, all this kind of good stuff. But today, and usually the headlines ain't about the people who's here. You know what I'm saying? So then like the headline be like, oh, World Cup is this, or something's happening there. But We got headlines about you.
They're always something. There's always something, but I'm good. I can talk about anything. Especially with you, I feel comfortable.
Yeah, well, we want to give you an opportunity to do just that, to actually talk and not be chopped into sound bites and everything else. And what you say is what you say. So you ready to get it going?
Let's pop it off.
All right. So we got a few headlines here in a row, but let's go ahead and put the first one up here, Eric. All right. It says Seattle City Council and Mayor butt heads over universal free school meals. According to an article by Amy Sundberg in The Urbanist, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson and the City Council are currently at odds over the implementation of universal free school meal program. Mayor Wilson's plan aims to provide breakfast and lunch for all students starting this fall, using funds from the 2025 FET levy to bridge the gap until the state takes over funding via the new millionaire tax. However, Council President Joy Hollingsworth and Councilmember Dion Foster have introduced an amendment to delay the Universal Meals program by 1 year, proposing instead to use the $4 million in savings to fund a food access voucher program for low-income students during weekends and school breaks. Now, before we comment on that, go ahead. But wait, there's more. Coming from the South Seattle Emerald. All right. It says the Roundup. Black Panthers had it right. In an article for the South Seattle Emerald, writer Mike Davis discusses the current political debate over implementing universal free meals for all Seattle public school students. While Mayor Katie Wilson proposed funding to start the universal program, Council President Joy Hollingsworth and Member Foster introduced this amendment. Davis criticizes this approach, questioning why the city nickel and dimes programs for children while swiftly approving costly police union contracts. Referencing the 1969 Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, Davis argues the city should feed all children regardless of class to prevent food insecurity. So, Council President Joy Hollingsworth, when I read these articles here, it doesn't quite say this directly, but it kind of sounds like you're not for feeding school kids here as the mayor has proposed. Is that the case?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and I really appreciate the articles that have come out and the opportunity to clear the air and set the table, if we will, because we're talking about food here. So a couple things. I think the first thing is that to understand that there are 105 Seattle public schools in the city, and half of those are on universal meals already. And so predominantly 75% of those are in the South End. South Seattle accounts for 25%, one of every four person that lives in the South Seattle, so south of I-90, is food insecure. The Othello Safeway is the highest redemption for SNAP benefits in the state, and also Fresh Bucks, which is a meal program. The concentration of food insecurity is disproportionately impacted in South Seattle. And so knowing some of those stats and the disproportionality that we've seen where kids are going hungry over weekends, spring breaks, and school breaks, so midwinter break and winter break, when this program was introduced, we saw a disparity that showed that kids in the South End are experiencing food insecurity at a higher rate more than the schools throughout the city. And the mayor's plan, let me tell you this, 10 toes down, as I said in our council meeting, support the mayor's universal implementation of meals. I was on the front lines of advocating for food advocacy with school meals, universal meals, way back in like 2019 and 2020 when the state was contemplating about doing this program. And so it was a decision to use family education levy funds to jumpstart and accelerate the program. But when you look at it in an equity lens, Councilmember Foster and I put forth an amendment to close the food equity gap in our city that is particularly for low-income families in South Seattle. And we felt like this approach to do a sequence approach for a meal program would better close the gap, the food gap that we have seen that has impacted people in South Seattle more significantly than anywhere else in the city. And shout out to the South Sound Emerald who did the article, because Elmer Dixon, the founder of the Black Panther Party here in Seattle, supports this amendment because 1969 is very different than 2026 in terms of the wealth gap, what is going on in our city, the segregation, and they understand that closing the food gap with our amendment, a sequence approach, will be well accepted and make sure that kids can eat during breaks.
Right. And so what is, when maybe you can explain a little bit more, right, is that because in here, at least in the article I'm reading, it says that you want to use the $4 million in savings to fund a food access voucher program.
Yeah.
So are you saying, it's me, I'm just a layman, I'm trying to keep
You're
up
good.
with
I
the
got you.
politician, with the elected official here. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that there's portions of our city, specifically the South End, where food insecurity is very high. And what you're saying is that in South Seattle, the majority of those schools already have the meals occurring. And so instead of putting more money into that program that might benefit other areas of our city that aren't so food insecure, you want to take that money and give additional vouchers to people in South Seattle to be able to get more food. And you're basing some of your data off of, like, you said the Safeway there is the biggest redemption in the state for SNAP. For old school people, them food stamps. And for fresh bucks where people can get produce. So what you're saying is you're not trying to take food off the plate or off the table.
Right.
You're trying to allocate food resources in areas of our city that you feel needed the most.
Absolutely. And I think what this approach does is, number one, our amendment creates a line item for food assistance in our city. That's never been done before in this levy. So you have a food assistance line item. That means that anytime there could be underspent, there could be some risk in reserve that might be funds that are not appropriated to different, buckets of the levy, that it can go for food assistance for families. That's number one. Number two is that we know that family support workers, McKinney-Vento folks, the program, they know who needs food. They're the experts. They know the kid that's coming to school hungry might be acting out. They know that on breaks, the families that are not eating. They know the folks that are going home hungry, not having a meal at night. That's what this is for. It's flexible. It's assistant, so they can have grocery cards to be able to get food when they need it. Maybe it's in the delis, because some families are having housing issues and they're experiencing homelessness, and they need to be able to navigate a food system where they don't have a kitchen. They don't have a microwave, and they need to go get something at the deli. So what this does is to make sure that we can close the food equity gap a lot better. Okay. And also too, the meals program, the universal meals program, that will start the following year. So we're saying, hey, let's do a sequence approach to do this first, and then you have the universal meals second. And 75% of all the schools that are on the universal meals program right now are predominantly in South Seattle.
Right. And so if 75% of people that are on the meals, the students, right, that are on the meals program are in South Seattle. If you're looking to reallocate more funds for the fight food insecurity in South Seattle, so is somebody in Laurelhurst mad? Or like in Magnolia, or are they like, man, why are you taking, reallocating our money from this school in Laurelhurst or Magnolia or somewhere or Queen Anne? And people be in hard times everywhere. Looks can be deceiving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can have a big house in Laurelhurst, still be broke. We see it all the time. But just generally speaking, there's some very affluent neighborhoods here. When I guess when we say all, is it all or all that need?
Yeah, let's be clear. There are schools throughout the city that qualify for universal meals. So what this means is for the general public, because I know it gets a little wonky, federal funding says if you have 40% or more kids that qualify for free and reduced lunch, the whole school gets universal meals. The state has lowered the threshold to 30%. They said, look, if it's 30% of kids that qualify for free and reduced lunch, the whole school gets it. I'm telling you that every single school in the South End is qualifying for universal meals because of those statistics. And there are kids that are in schools that might be in different neighborhoods that might not meet that threshold. So I understand there is that middle class that is getting squeezed out, that don't qualify everywhere. This is everywhere. And I also know that there are kids that do not eat unless they go to school. And if they do not go to school, they do not eat. And for me, that is a big, big problem because that is happening to a ton of the kids that are in Southeast Seattle and pockets throughout the city, but it's concentrated. If you look at the food insecurity map that's provided by the State Department, Health Department, it is concentrated south of I-90. And we've seen that in the data.
Yeah, I mean, and it's real too. And the summertime is crazy. And big shout out to HSD for SYEP. For the summer meals program, where a lot of the community centers are activated, where kids can eat lunch during the summer. I think that people who actually eat every day, and even sometimes if they complain about the price of food, but they got a route every day, it's hard for the average person to actually put themselves in the shoes of people who are literally starving, and then we deal with the outcomes of that hunger that people are facing now, our young people all the way up to adults and even our seniors, that, man, there's a segment of our population that is hungry. And, yeah, it's just hard. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, people we say homeless, but unless you see somebody on the street, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're like, it's the concept, right? But like hunger, at least in homelessness, in some of the iterations here in the Emerald City, we can visually see it. And we see like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Like, here's an encampment. But hunger is something that we can't usually see. We can't see it unless somebody's emaciated or lost hella weight. We can't see that they're struggling with hunger and all the other things that come out of that. And who knows how one thing connects to another in a negative way across our communities. What was your like catalyst? Did something really move you to this? Because you guys got a lot of laws and amendments and things like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is this? And like, you're riding hard, on this. You're riding hard on this amendment.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, so back in 2019, I took a job at Emergency Feeding Program and worked there for a good while, especially during the pandemic. And I told someone something you will never, there are moments that I remember during my work there, especially during the pandemic. And the one thing that broke me was watching a parent go to work all day as a nurse and then come stand in line to get food for 2 hours because they did not have enough money to eat for their kids and their family. Watching people drive hours to come to the food bank just to get food. We were doing something different at that food bank because we didn't require ID. We didn't require identification. You didn't have to show us a light bill to show us your address. All we needed was a zip code and how many people were in your household. That was it, so we could figure out what size box you were getting to be able to feed the folks in your home. And so that experience during the pandemic and then my transition working at Northwest Harvest and all these food banks all across the state really opened my eyes to the disparities and the issues that we saw with food insecurity and how it impacted communities and people, and especially kids, and how it impacted children. And so those moments during the pandemic, my background in food access, I have tried to be a champion on city council to always advocate, especially during the process, for food budget items every single year during the budget process.
you know, you just said something. One, I had an aha moment. That's where I first met you, was at Black Dot, and during COVID.
Yep.
And you guys had set up like a satellite, I guess, feeding station right there at Black Dot. And that's where we were broadcasting the morning update show. And actually, we had covered you guys delivering food one time, the morning update show. That's when I first met you.
Emergency feeding program.
Yeah,
we were the largest black distributor on the West Coast for food access. That was us. And I remember meeting you, and we took a picture together, and I was delivering food in the van.
Yep. I think I if I look for it, I can find the tweet, because I tweeted it out. So, but this is very interesting then, that you're being portrayed as someone who doesn't really care or out of touch around hunger and especially hungry children in our city. And you actually worked at Emergency Feeding and worked at Northwest Harvest. I don't know if that's come up in any of these articles that have been out there of where, you know, you're formulating this. And so that's why I asked you the question, because I'm like, okay, well, where does this come from? It's just, you know, hey, well, you know, let me just obfuscate, you know, and make it difficult for the mayor? No. This is coming from you actually working in the space of identifying, and that's wild. Like I said, I mean, I forgot all about that. And I forgot that was even your journey, was actually in that space of feeding hungry people. So when I was just sitting here being like, most people can't see when somebody's hungry, you actually worked in that space.
Every single day, I would wake up at 5 a.m. to make sure that I drove a Penske truck all the way across to Kirkland to the Amazon distribution center to pick up all the food before they threw it away, bring it back to emergency feeding program by 7 so we could be able to, figure out which boxes were going what, count how much food was coming in, do all of the distribution. So we had satellite programs. We had different places that were getting food boxes, senior centers. We set up a food pantry in the South End with Grandma. We call her Grandma. I think her real name is Lisa, but Grandma, who set up a food pantry in her apartment off of Rainier. We did a food distribution site at Rainier Beach right after Connor Dasa Holland got shot. And we said, you know what, we want to do something for the community. Let's go out and do food access in this area. And that's what we did. And we set up a food site. Those lines were wrapped around the block. And it was so sad to see, especially during the pandemic, to see all the people that were hungry and were suffering. And let me tell you this. This is what a lot of people don't know. It's more real right now, the food insecurity, than it was during the pandemic.
I believe it.
Because of the resources. A lot of people don't know, during the pandemic, resources, like when flights were shut down, stadiums weren't doing stuff, all that food got redirected to food pantries. And so there was more food in the food system that was redirected to different places, whether it was a pop-up or a distribution hub or a food bank, way more than what it is today. And so we've seen a lot of the donations go down, but the population go up where people that are food insecure. And so right now it's more so, food insecurity is more so than what it's ever been that I've seen in this city. And it's particularly concentrated in other neighborhoods than, in South Seattle than it is around the city.
Yeah, I've never seen this show move this fast. As we're at 30 minutes after it right now. We're going to take a quick break, and I want to continue this part of the conversation because I'm wondering, I got lots of questions, basically. We're supposed to talk about like 15 different things here.
I got you.
But we'll see what we can do. You're watching the pop-up.
When our community seeks answers, we just don't report the news. We hold the space for the solutions. The Pop-Up, bringing you face-to-face with policymakers, change makers, moving your city forward. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and essential. And now, we're going to come to you a little bit earlier. Tune into The Pop-Up weeknights at 7 p.m., where culture meets Converge.
Black women in Washington faced more than twice the risk of syphilis in 2024, but cases are falling as we learn the facts and look out for ourselves. Yet 1 in 10 pregnant cases were among Black women, but more than half of potential congenital cases were prevented with early care. Early testing makes a difference. Get tested and protect yourself. Protect your child. Protect the community.
Discover the raw, essential story of Northwest modernism through the Seattle Art Museum's Beyond Mysticism. This exhibition features over 150 pieces celebrating the region's natural beauty and urban life. Get your tickets today at seattleartmuseum.org. We'll see you there.
Welcome to Hell's Kitchen, Broadway's hit musical from Alicia Keys. It's raw, relatable, and refreshingly fun. Hell's Kitchen, playing the Paramount Theater July 21st through 26th.
I can talk about the levy and how it started.
All right, welcome back to the pop-up. Joined right here by, oh, there we go, by Seattle City Council President Joy Hollingsworth. Nice photo bumper right there from her last appearance here in the Black Media Matters studios. That was on the Big O show. And then they told me, oh, the ego's too big. You got to show with your name in it, man. you gotta. So it's rolled into the pop-up. But look, I want to continue this conversation here when you talk about hunger and everything you got. There we go. When you're talking about hungry kids, like I said, it's interesting to me. Well, so I want to talk about two things, right? Two separate tracks. One, of course, is what goes on in City Hall, and the other is the streets. Let's start with the streets first. Is that when our young people are hungry, most likely the whole family's hungry as well. But when our young people are hungry and school-age kids, what are we seeing?
So we're seeing when kids are hungry on the weekends, they don't have enough food to eat. On Monday, they perform lower in tests. They might get write-ups, right? Because they might be acting a certain way because they're hungry and they don't have, those resources where they can come to school feeling good and healthy because they've been starving over the weekend. You see, I could argue that Southeast Seattle, 13% of the population, 30% of the gun violence. This stat has been like this the last how many years? And so I could argue, and there's stats out there and information, that food security lowers a lot of the gun violence in our city. It makes sure that kids are well fed, they have the resources, their needs are met. That's why the Black Panthers started this, making sure that kids started off having these resources. First time I met Mr. Elmer Dixon, the first thing he told me was like, Joy, your grandmother helped advocate and get us money for food so we could start the food program. These were things like, I didn't even know that, right? And I was like, wow, that was amazing, hearing about history and how some of the programs within the Central District came to be to make sure that our kids had food, whether it was camp, Urban League, the NAACP, the churches, all these people that always continue to feed food into our community.
For our people who don't know, who was your grandmother?
My grandmother, she was Dorothy Hollingsworth. She was the first Black woman on the school board, but also the first first Black female president of the school board. And she was the person that helped desegregate some of the schools that were in Seattle, while the infamous busing system where they bus kids throughout to integrate folks into different schools to make sure that those kids had the same resources, no matter their color or their zip code, that they had the same type of resources for learning.
Generations later, it's the same cause.
Still the same thing. Still the same thing. Our city is more segregated than ever. And I think what is really interesting to highlight is the significant wealth gap in our city. The wealth gap in our city, which, average household income of a Black family is $55,000. Their counterpart, if you're talking about like a white or Asian family, it's over $120,000. That wealth gap is way more significant than a southern state here in a progressive city. And so that's some of the things that I highlight when we're talking about food equity, when we're talking about the FEP levy that was implemented by Mayor Rice to close some of these equity gaps within our city. And this potential program would be one of those equity gaps.
Yeah, Seattle's the kind of city too at times where when people don't need something, they be like, I'd rather have that other person have it. You know, a lot of times we see, and I only bring that up and to say that, I mean, where is the pushback? And I'm not saying you shouldn't get pushed back, because a lot of stuff up in City Hall is crap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It needs to be pushed back, pushed over, rolled over, and buried. You know what I'm saying? So you're supposed to get criticism. You're supposed to get pushback. You're supposed to get opposing views. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way the system works. That's what you signed up for. This is the role you're in. But hearing you explain this, coming from your role before you became an elected official, working at places like Emergency Feeding Program and Northwest Harvest, working directly with feeding families and young people, and then running for office, it seems like you're coming with an informed position in what you want to do. Why are you getting so much pushback on it, or the spin on it is like you want to take food away from kids?
So I fully expect people to go after the policy piece, to dissect it, to go after it. That's what we put it out for. It's amendment, put the policy piece. It's the politics that gets messy. And that's unfortunate, because I'm going to tell you this. One thing I know I wasn't raised on is to put empty kids' stomachs on the line, to make, promises to kids that you can't keep. Like, I don't do that. And to make sure that when I'm making an informed decision about implementing a program, about ensuring that we're going to close gaps to feed folks, that they know that we come from an informed decision, we have facts and data, and we have the information to be able to make these decisions, especially as policymakers. I do not take that lightly. Right? But to watch, some of the comments, and you see the comments, you see the headlines, and, it's unfortunate, that's what it is. But to have a policy debate, let's have that, because this isn't actually a debate. This is more so an implementation strategy. This is a win-win. We can have both, right? And I applaud Mayor Wilson for putting at the forefront and accelerating the Universal Meals Program. I support that 1,000%. And now we're having the discussion of how should we implement it? What should that look like? Can we do it in a way that makes sense and closes these gaps? And I think we have found a really great balance to the implementation of universal meals, and then also closing those gaps for people that are low income, or folks that are experiencing homelessness with McKinney-Vento family support workers, and creating a line item in the levy, that says food assistance. Not anything else can that money be allocated or appropriated for, but food assistance. That has never been done, and we have doubled the investment, $3 million over the course of 6 years, $500,000 a year, that will go into food assistance for our kids, for low-income families.
Man, no, it's interesting. I mean, we covered. Didn't we talk about this, Eric? Yeah.
What y'all talk about?
Talk about how you sound like the Grinch. the way that it's, you know what I'm saying, in a lot of media here.
That's why I came here. That's why I came here. Because you all let me tell the story. You all have a perspective and a narrative. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but you all are allowing me this platform to explain and articulate, and it not be the clickbait, and not be the one-liners, it not be this or. It's not binary. This is a dual implementation of a program that's going to make sure that kids are getting fed, and I support this wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, and we don't had over the years, if we didn't clip out those receipts, we don't have some real heaters up in here, me and you over the years. But that is the whole point, is to be able to come and talk about things. Because as soon as we saw that, it was like, man, what's this all about? Right? I said, it doesn't sound. It just, the way that it read, it didn't sound right. It just keeps reading like you're taking away, where it sounds like actually what you're wanting to do, like you said, is you want to implement it differently to be able to target those families most in need right now of food assistance, because they're in a food desert, and you're using the information that you have for whether it's SNAP, whether it's from food banks, whether, cash bucks, fresh bucks, to be able to make that assessment.
Absolutely. Talking to teachers, speaking with folks that are in McKinney-Vento program, talking to principals, people that are on the ground, advocates, organizations, the folks that have signed on to the letter saying that they support this approach. Makes sense. It's a lot of the, organizations that work in this space. So I understand that there's a difference of opinion. I would love to keep it on the policy piece and not the politics piece, because I didn't get into this work to do politics stuff. I'm a kid from the Central District. That's
Hello.
it.
CD or see me.
CD. I was going to tell some of these folks in the comments, CD or see me. But the biggest thing that I'm focused on is making sure that kids that need it the most have food, especially during the breaks where they're not eating because they're not at school. And that's a problem for me.
Right. All right. Is there anything, before we move on, a good opportunity here to put what you want to do in layman's terms? You know what I'm saying?
I got to break it down.
Yeah, no, man, what it's really, that's also why, this is the people station. You feel me?
Yeah.
We not here to talk over nobody's head, and we not here to whatever. And anybody who comes in this studio, we give a lot of space, grace, and opportunity for them to be able to get their point across. Mayor Wilson's been here plenty of time. The only it's only 2 council members who ain't never been here. We're gonna have to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? Before the end of the year. So I just want you to be able to, once again, before we move on, so you can get your point across here.
Absolutely.
As to what it is you're doing.
Yep. So currently, there's a universal meals program that is already implemented within the Seattle Public Schools. It covers about 50% of the schools that are in Seattle Public Schools. That will expand to cover all the schools. My amendment will expand it in 2027. But for this school year, what I plan on doing, the amendment, will be able to give grocery card assistance to low-income families so they can have meals and food over breaks, over weekends, and it will be administered through family support workers, through administrators with the schools and McKinney-Vento program. So it will be administered by folks in the school that know who the hungry folks are, who needs it, the family support workers that are that lifeline to resources, and that will be the life of the levy. $500,000 every year into that program, and the Universal Meals program will start for everyone in 2027. That's what we're trying to do.
All right, there you go. You got it out?
I got it out.
Did you get it? You get it all out?
We got it out. Hopefully I explained it right. It's a little nuanced.
All right, and listen, before we go to another break here, we got to put this up here, Eric. This is A8, because we've been talking about government, but you know what I'm saying? We got to give a big shout out to community. Government, you know what I'm saying? We can't ask government for every solution. So big shout out to the Deaf Chef and Armoire. And this is the free community breakfast that they've been having there at the Prince Hall Masonic Temple there on 23rd and Jackson on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And when we talked to the Deaf Chef when he was here, he said it inspired, of course, by the Black Panthers, where that program really caught fire here in Seattle, and one way or another has never left us. And this is the most recent iteration here. You can bring it down, Eric. When you saw that program, what'd you think?
It was beautiful. You know, Jasmine and Miss Vivian Phillips with Art Noir, and then you have Deaf Chef opening up and creating an environment inspired by the Black Panthers to give food to the community. We need it. And so fully support what they're doing. It touched my heart, and I was just so happy that they could do that. And shout out to also a brown girl who cooks, who gives out free meals over there by Franklin. Anyone who comes up can get a free meal. That program's amazing. Anything that's free, accessible to the community, I'm all down for it.
All right, good stuff. We're gonna take. Let me see here. Let's keep you on your toes over here.
I didn't know I had some high waters. My bad. Let me pull up my sock.
Let's go ahead and play break 3, Eric. And we'll be right back.
Welcome to Hell's Kitchen, Broadway's hit musical from Alicia Keys.
Every song, If I Ain't Got You, Empire State of Mind, it's all in the show.
Meet Allie, a 17-year-old girl full of fire. Meet the musical mentor who changes her life and her family, who lifts her up. With exhilarating choreography, Hell's Kitchen is all about finding yourself, your purpose, and the people who inspire you. Hell's Kitchen, playing the Paramount Theater July 21st through 26th.
When our community seeks answers, we just don't report the news. We hold the space for the solutions. The Pop-Up, bringing you face-to-face with policymakers, change makers, moving your city forward. Unfiltered, unapologetic, and essential. And now, we're going to come to you a little bit earlier. Tune into The Pop-Up weeknights at 7 p.m., where culture meets Converge.
Real ones show up for each other. In the barbershop, at home, in the group chat, we check in. Not just you good, but really good.
Because the health of your friends and family matter, and they need you to check in. Healthy men keep each other safe.
And real ones check in on the ones we love. Because when we tap in, we stay healthy together.
All right, welcome back to the Pop-Up, coming to you live from the Black Media Matter studio right here in downtown Seattle. We're joined tonight by Seattle City Council President Joy Hollingsworth in the building.
What's up? I'm happy to be in the building.
Yeah, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? What you been up to? Hey, so did you go to Reunion on Union?
I did. I was there. There was a lot of people. It was great to see so many folks and the band and the music. It was a nice reunion. I thought it was one of the best ones yet.
Yeah. What'd you do for Juneteenth?
Juneteenth, I was at the Jimi Hendrix Memorial Park. And so we were there doing our thing. It was great. There was a lot of people there.
I got to be honest with you. This Juneteenth, between I personally feel this whole city just showed out. Whether it was the stuff FIFA did, the Mariners, they was Steelheads Friday. You know what I'm saying? They brought out the steel, and they actually they honored Deontay that day. Jimi Hendrix was slapping. The watch parties for the World Cup. There was one there at Midtown Square, and even down in Tacoma. It was like this was a dope Juneteenth.
It was a black Juneteenth.
Hella black.
It was hella black. I was looking around like,
that's why we had to ask you.
Am I in Detroit right now? Am I in Atlanta? What's up?
We had to make sure you was in the hood somewhere.
Yeah, what is this? Where are we at?
Hey, so I did want to ask you something, and we won't spend too much time on it because we're up against the top of the hour, and I want to talk about some Black Joy, the other Black Joy. But oftentimes, and you used to talk about this and even put memes about it. Oftentimes, you're not considered black enough. You're not considered gay enough. You're not considered tough enough in this space. And you know, that would be the thing. It's like we see stuff and it's like, well, Joy's not black enough and Joy's not gay enough, just as a general term, of course. And whatever happened with all of that?
You know, what's interesting is I just kept being myself, a joyful warrior. That's it. And so however people take me as me, that's what it was. And, you know, we just continue to move forward. But yeah, those comments, you know, people would say that you're not black enough or you're not gay enough. You gotta be this gay. You gotta be this black. You gotta be this. I just kept being myself. And let me tell you this. I've survived 42 years on this earth and have navigated a ton of stuff. We gonna keep being who I am, okay? And people can accept it. And if not, it's cool. We gonna keep it moving. And the end. And I'll have dinner with anyone. I'll have coffee with anyone. We're going to keep it moving.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, speaking of good stuff here, you know, A few months ago, this was back in March, and me and Eric Calligraphy were there at Rainier Beach Community Center, a very special event that Fast Fathers and Sons Together, an organization we definitely love and support here at Converge. They were having their annual basketball camp and everything else. But this year's was a little bit different because you were in the building and you announced through proclamation that it was Slick Watts Day. We got a short clip here.
As the Seattle City Council honors and celebrates the life and legacy of Donald Earl Slick Watts, recognizing his extraordinary contributions to Seattle sports, education, and youth development, and expressing our deepest gratitude for his lifelong service to our community. Now and therefore, Council President Joy Hollingsworth proclaims March 21st to be Donald Earl Slick Watts Day. Thank you.
Thank you to FAST and the organization. And I just want to there's a lot in here of who my dad was, who he is, and spirit still lives here. But it really, the most important thing is he loved y'all. He loved this community. He dedicated his life to this community.
I've known him my whole life. My uncle played with him on the Sonics and then at Xavier, New Orleans, Louisiana in college, and it was just an amazing experience to present that proclamation to the family. This is what it's about. When I talk about prevention, intervention, enforcement, we got to do more on the P side. Prevention, this is what it's about. It's getting the kids off the street, inside with fathers, making sure that we have good environments, they get food, we have activities, reinforce that community connection. This is what the city shall and will invest in.
How special was that day for you?
Okay, I said food in there. The kids should get food. Just want to highlight that day was special. I'm gonna tell you. I just want to say, y'all heard it, Eric. Y'all heard it. You heard it. Oh, this is why I think it was so full circle. My uncle played college basketball with Slick Watts. And they had an amazing career at the only Xavier I know, Xavier University, Louisiana. Shout out my mom. She graduated from there, English major, HBCU.
Hello.
And then they came to Seattle together. And so Donald Watts and their family, they are family. That's my brother. And so to be full circle, to present it to his family about his dad and what that meant, that was such an amazing experience. Slick Watts meant so much to this community, so much to these kids. And I know that him and my uncle are up in heaven playing one-on-one. I don't know who's winning, so I'm not going to count. But, just very grateful of that opportunity. And he meant the world to this community.
Yeah, no, real deal. Yeah, you was cheesing then, just like you was cheesing just right now watching it on the screen. It
was fun. Yeah, we had a good time. And the kids, the most important piece, and Donald said it too, I call him Little Donald, but Little Donald, that's what we used to call him. But to see the kids with the fathers and sons and Mr. Larry, who runs fast. Mr. Larry used to be the manager at Safeway. Shout out Mr. Larry, been in the community, Rainier Beach community for years. Like, to be able to have that moment, the kids got food, they got basketball skills, they got prizes, they got different awards during that time. And then I didn't get a headband. That was the other thing. They were giving out headbands.
I ain't getting no headband either.
I was a little disappointed.
You get a headband, Eric?
Nah, they were giving out yellow headbands.
Not that kind of headband, bro.
Yeah. No, I didn't get the headband. But anyways, it was a great experience for the kids, which was important, and the fathers and sons to highlight Slick Watts.
Right. Before we let you go, what's on your radar? What do you want the good people of the city of Seattle to know?
So we have recess for council, which comes on the 21st of August. So that means that people are going to see a ton of legislation between now and the next 4 or 5 weeks before we go on recess. And then after that is the budget part, which is going to be a lot. And so I would like people to continue to stay engaged at council, to call in. I don't think people understand that just their voice, how much it moves local government. And I know that oftentimes people feel like it's really hard to get engaged with government, or they don't feel like their voice is being heard. But I'm gonna tell you, at a local level, if you wanna get heard, come down and talk, or send an email, see me on the streets, give me your public comment. I think it really makes a difference. Or you can do like that one guy did in Louisiana. I don't know if anyone saw. Make a song. He was killing the song with them vocals. That was the best public comment I ever saw. He was killing. Wasn't that a nice smooth jazz song?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I want to fix his curbs right now, because the song was talking about gutters and curbs and weeds, and I just want to do all that for him after that song. Made me feel good about it.
Man, speaking of feeling good, how good or not so good, but I'm assuming more good than not, being council president now? Because, I mean, seems to be like council members kind of, it's cool, but you're in your lane and everything. And unless you really make somebody mad, you're not catching too many strays or anything. But when you're council president, man, it's a big target.
Yeah, it is, and I'm grateful my colleagues elected me council president, but I'm a facilitator. That's what I say. I don't try to steer the process. My vote weighs just as much as everyone else. I'm a facilitator, and I protect the process. That's the important piece, is I'm a facilitator and I protect the legislative process. And it has been a great experience. This has been a learning experience. It's been fun. There have been some tough days, don't get me wrong, but I do want to say that I've learned a lot as a leader, and also too as a convener with all the council members, being that person that is trying to make sure that us as a council are represented well, especially to the community.
Fantastic. Look, you can look right there on that camera there, the last one right there, and tell people how they can connect with your office.
Okay, so look, you can shoot me an email, joy.hollingsworth@seattle.gov. You can see me at CM Joy Hollings online, which is our Instagram or our Facebook as well. You can come down to City Council every Tuesday at 2 o'clock and give public comment, or you can call in, or you can see me around the Central District. I'm always on Central District, Capitol Hill, sometimes in Eastlake, Junkins. I'm all over the place, so you can come and hit me up there as well.
Everywhere like air, huh?
Everywhere like air. Or you could hit up and say you need my number, and then I'll hit you up. Whatever. Slide in the DMs. You can do whatever you want. I got you.
There's a few people that hit me up like, yo, I need to talk.
Slide in the DMs.
Don't tell her you got it from me.
That's you giving out my number, man. Slide in the DMs. I got you.
All right. Seattle City Council member Joy Hollingsworth, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, and the Black Media Matters place and Coleman Commons and all the beautiful artwork behind us. This is my favorite place to come.
Yeah, these are like your people.
These are the melanin wall.
You go way back. All right. Well, look, before we get out of here, got to do a few things. Of course, we have a big shout out to our producer, Mead Gill, who put together a fantastic show today. Sorry I didn't get to most of it, Mead, but you know what I'm saying? This food thing was important. Well, yeah, stick to the script, literally. And I'm sure the council president would join us again if we send an invite. Also, a big shout out, of course, to our live director, Eric Calligraphy, and also, we're joined by two new junior production crew here tonight, and that's Dejanay and that's Dylan, and they're both here. Let's give them a hand. All right. So on that note, let me get out of here. Tomorrow night is Sean Good. The rest of the week, though, it's candidates for King County races, so this should actually be pretty good. All the candidates, or at least some of them, they'll be in here. Tomorrow night, it's going to be Sean Good hosting. I'll be back on Wednesday at 9 p.m. And until then, go forward in your purpose. Go forward in your humanity. Peace.